As always, there is plenty to talk about when it comes to sport, and Tom King has been out and about doing his best, gathering all the info for us. Here's Tom.
Yes, thanks Megan. Good to be back for another Friday morning, another big week in sport. And we promised you last Friday that we'd have a full wrap of the AFL draft and what it meant for Geelong. Well, it meant 4 draft picks. Stephen Wells and his recruiting team have dug very deep into this draft, and you'd have to think they've done pretty well as well with the picks they had, considering the first pick wasn't until number 15, where they picked up Mitchell Brown from the Sandringham Dragons. A key defender, a likely type, could play senior footy next year, so he was the first cab off the rank. The next selection was at pick 33, and they went with Thomas Gillies from the Dandenong Stingrays, a key forward, Vic Metro player, and also a likely type as well. Probably will spend most of 2009 in the VFL. Pick 39 in the draft, that was, of course, the pick they traded for Brett Prismal when he, of course, went to Essendon, and they picked up the very exciting young Indigenous player, Stephen Motlop, from the Wanderers Club in the Northern Territory, of course, the brother of Daniel at Port Adelaide. His older brother, Shannon, also played a bit of AFL, of course, with North Melbourne and Melbourne. He was the player that came onto the Melbourne list following the tragic passing of Troy Broadbridge in the 2004 tsunamis in the Indian Islands. So a big pedigree there. Marlon Motlop, his cousin too, also on an AFL list at Port Adelaide. There was talk he might have ended up at the Power, and there would have been the Marlon trio, a bit like the Motlop trio, a bit like the Jackson 5, I think. But didn't happen. So he's ended up at Geelong and will join a strong Indigenous contingent, the likes of Nathan Jakura, Travis Stokes, Travis Varco and Matthew Stokes. So there's the first 3 picks out of the way. The final pick was another Sandringham Dragon. Taylor Hunt was picked up at 49 and will be another midfield type. And, of course, the VFL looks like where he'll be next year. Their jumper numbers have been allocated. Mitchell Brown will wear number 1, vacated by Jason Davenport. Number 25 for Tom Gillies, of course, that was the number vacated by Adam Donoghue, who's now wearing his dad's old number. Larry's 23. 32, Brent Prismal's number, has become Stephen Motlop's, while Taylor Hunt will wear number 38, which last year was worn in the VFL by a delisted player that just doesn't come to the top of my head right now, but I'm sure I'll remember somewhere down the path. 4 Falcons have been drafted. Geelong College's Ace Cordy taken at pick 14, as we knew was going to happen, as a father-son pick by the Western Bulldogs. Ace, of course, his dad Brian played more than 100 games for the Bulldogs back in the 80s, and of course his uncles Neil and Graham played with the Bulldogs and the Swans. At pick 46, Terang Mortlake's Luke Rounds went to Collingwood. Pick 52, Ocean Grove's Jordan Jones to the West Coast Eagles. And at pick 56, Ben Bukavars from the Geelong Amateurs heading to the Freo Dockers. So Jordan and Ben, pretty good mates, actually good surfing buddies, I think. So they'll be able to hit the Cottesloe Beach and catch up over a wave. But well, of course, if you're going to realise your AFL dream, you've got to head somewhere. The rookie draft still to come, so for those Falcons that have missed out, and the Geelong Footy Club who have 3 picks at that rookie draft, December 16 is the day of reckoning there. No pre-season draft picks for the Cats. Stay on local footy now, and of course, Good Friday has reared its head again. Will we be playing on it? The holiest day on the Christian calendar. Well, it looks like St Albans and Leopold will do battle to open the GFL season. For them, it's a split round, of course, and they're on the second weekend, those 2 clubs, and the Super Saints looking to host at St Albans Reserve. Now, it's got to go to the Football Geelong Commission to be decided. December 17 is the date for that one, and of course, well, a big decision to be made because a lot of people still against the idea of Good Friday football, and Father Kevin Dillon, who of course appears regularly here with Geelong-related programs, has voiced his somewhat opposition to it, although I think he'd be accepting of it. Good cause, the money going to the children's ward at the Geelong Hospital. Let's move on to cricket now, Premier Cricket, and sad news for, of course, Aaron Finch, unable to head to India with the Victorian team after those Mumbai bomb blasts. He was part of their Champions League 2020 squad. They would have been in action this week. But, of course, with him not being there and not on the plane, he was in the Geelong side on Sunday, and boy, didn't they need him. After Essendon racked up 402 and declared on Saturday evening, the Cats 4 for 403, a record chase. Finchy making 100, Sean Dean another 100. He's having a fantastic season as well. And the Cats, they sit second on the Premier Cricket ladder, and they sit behind the Mob that was their nemesis last year in the grand final, Ringwood. The Rams are on 30 points, the Cats 25. Let's hope once again that the Cats can take it to Christmas in a good position, and then those fade-outs that they became so famous for up until last year disappear, and they can once again figure come April in the Premier Cricket Finals. The Super Cats have received some good news in the past week. They've found out that Nathan Herbert, no matter how many minutes he plays with the NBL South Dragons, will not be a restricted player in 2009. The ruling has been brought in by Basketball Australia that 150 games with your ABA club or the old ABA clubs will be enough to see you unrestricted. It used to be 200. The Super Cats won a challenge last year for Nathan. This year they won't even have to worry about challenging. 2 imports to be signed. We'll have more news on those next week. They're looking at signing their local contingent by the end of this week, hopefully, so we should have plenty of basketball news for you next Friday on Good Morning Geelong. Finally, racing, Giro Valley, part owned, of course, by the O'Brien family out at Lara. Finished second in last year's Caulfield Cup, won the Yalumba Stakes this year, and well, it's heading over to Hong Kong. Trainer Danny O'Brien's taken it over there for the Hong Kong Vase to be raced at the famous Sha Tin race course on December 14. The race worth a lazy $2.8 million. Plenty happening in the world of sport, Megan. I'll be back next Friday with a lot more and a wrap of what's taking place in the world of Premier Cricket. Geelong this weekend taking on Essendon, and we'll make sure that we bring you all the highlights too in the Geelong Cricket Show.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed the show for another week. It's been a pleasure to have you with us. All the best for your week ahead. We look forward to seeing you next week.